we wanted to get a little bit of background and some information about the speculation that is out there. You addressed it before, but we weren't there, so do you mind addressing it again?
What sort of speculation? I'm not
Well,
exactly
the traces that they found.
They found, they, with very exact RNA tests, they found dead virus in me, and they tried to replicate the virus, and it didn't replicate. And in fact, with people who were who've been undetectable for years, they do tests on their virus, and it replicates like very quickly and massively. In my case, it didn't do anything. I am definitely cured.
Yes.
I'm Jove from Malawi. I just wanted to know, there is scientific proof that the virus can actually go into hibernation for long periods, the HIV virus, for maybe more than 10 years. So I just would like to know how certain we are that the virus is really gone. Isn't there a possibility that maybe it's just gone into hibernation and that after a couple of years it's going to come out again?
In my case, it's been 5 years that it's been completely gone. And I've been tested and tested and tested. They've even taken a lymph node out of my groin and tested that, and no sign of virus. So it would be very, very, very surprising if a virus came back.
Sorry, just a follow-up question. What proof do we have that initially you actually had the virus? What kind of proof do we have for that?
I was tested positive in 1995 with HIV, and actually had became ill at first from it, and didn't know I had it. And actually, when a friend of mine told me I should go get tested, I still didn't think I had it, but I did, and there are a lot of medical records that show that I did have it, and I was going to doctors who were, their main focus was HIV, and in the hospital as well, I did have HIV and at first, and so it's all medically, it's all documented that I did have HIV.
And just to add to that, under U.S. standards for a period of time, he actually dropped in T-cell count to the point where he had full-blown AIDS.
How were you cured?
In 2006, I became very fatigued, and then it was clear that I had anemia.
Anemia?
Anemia?
Anemia.
Yeah. So I was sent to an oncologist, and he determined that I had AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and then I found out that one day, and the next day I was in the hospital getting chemo treatment, and so I got, I was supposed to get 4 rounds of chemo, which turned out to just be 2.5 rounds, and I thought that my leukemia was in remission. In the meantime, the main doctor at the hospital tested my blood to find a donor for a stem cell transplant, and then he found out that I had a huge amount of donors, possible donors, and some people don't have any. In fact, friend of mine was in the hospital at the same time, and he didn't have any, and so he had to get a transplant from his mother as a donor, and that was only half of the correct blood,
Yeah.
excuse me. So, and he eventually passed away because it didn't work. And then this gave my doctor the idea of looking for because I had so many, looking for a donor who was, I need water. A donor who was CCR5 negative. CCR5 is a protein that sits on the CD4 cells, the T cells, and it acts as a doorway for the virus to get into the cell. And if it's not there, then the virus has no way to infect the cell. And so he found a donor that was CCR5 negative, meaning that he didn't have the CCR5 protein on his T cells, and which meant that he didn't have, or that the virus didn't have any chance of getting into his cells. So he was basically immune. So when I got the stem cell transplant, which was in 2007, February, I got his immune system. So I'm not me anymore.
So it's really been 5.5 years.
Yeah, it's been 5.5 years. And so I got the stem cell transplant in, within 3 months, I was free of HIV. So, yeah.
Yeah, one more
So
question.
what pushed you to come forward? Because you were cured, that was in 2007, and then they only began talking about you like a few years after. So what happened during that time? Why the silence?
I was recovering from all of the crap that I went through, and didn't feel I was mentally or physically able to do things like I'm doing now. And so I decided that I wanted to be in hiding for a while and not deal with any of this. But then a doctor made a slip of the tongue and said my name, and at that point I was kind of like, I can't just sit around and be the only person that's cured of HIV. I want everyone else to be cured, and that's basically what I'm working on now. After coming out of hiding at the end of 2010, I have been in the media and also going around the country and world making speeches, and I want a cure for HIV to come about for everyone else.
And just to add to that, and that's why he's formed the Timothy Ray Brown Foundation with the World AIDS Institute. But Timothy also, because you weren't here earlier, his leukemia came back. Not the HIV, your leukemia. So he's been through 2 stem cell bone marrow transplants. He had to go through rehabilitation to learn how to walk. He was incontinent. This man has gone with his will from being completely unable to do anything to working his way over a period of years to get to the point where he is now. So he was not wanting to be out there. He wanted to be anonymous for a period of time, and somebody else made the inadvertent decision to say his name, and then he decided, I've got to take this and go with it because I represent hope.
Yeah. What is the message to PLHIV? The message. What do you want to talk to them?
Your message to HIV positive people.
Oh, yeah, okay. My message is that I am a proof in concept that that a cure can be is possible, and because after it's just been after my my cure that people have started talking about a cure again, and basically I want it. My being cured is it's giving people a lot of hope that it's possible, and that medical science will be able to come up with a cure in our lifetimes.
What is your favorite food and drinks?
I am I say a pescatarian, so I don't eat meat, but I eat seafood and fish and vegetables and pretty much everything but meat. And my favorite is actually Peruvian food's kind of my favorite. I love Vietnamese food, Indian food, Pakistani food, Mexican food,
Of course.
of course. Living in San Francisco, you can't get away from Mexican food. It's everywhere.
Anybody not asked a question? Yes.
I want to know, how did you get the virus? How he get infected?
What is the cause of transmission
The cause.
in you?
And another one, how is your health condition today?
Exactly.
How is your health today? What do you do about talking other people with this? What do you do for living?
That changed today.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Before I worked as a translator from German to English in Berlin, and I after my first transplant, I was able to go back to work, and I kept doing that until it became necessary to get the second transplant because the leukemia came back. But after that, I was not able to work because my health was really horrible, and so I worked basically as going around the world, giving speeches and giving lots and lots of interviews, and then starting today, I founded the Timothy Ray Brown Foundation, and my work is basically now looking for a cure, or making money to work for a cure for HIV.
And how did you get the virus in 1995?
Who knows? Yeah.
But what was for a contact with, I don't know,